Well, hello again, and welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's guest is a person I'm truly amazed she's joined me on this platform. She's a model, she's a mom, she's a businesswoman, and she's many more. Join me in meeting Kathy Ireland. So welcome to the Painless Universal conversation with myself and Welsh. I'm really honored, honestly, to have you on this platform. I know who you are, and I'm sure the rest of the world know who you are. But for us, some of the people in here, England, London, not quite sure who you are. Can you just do a brief introduction of who you are?
Sure. Thank you, Anne. My name is Kathy Ireland, and I'm a mom, a wife. I've got three children, four now. Our son is married, and started a business 27 years ago, Kathy Ireland Worldwide. We are a design and marketing firm that crosses many sectors in business. Back in the last century, I worked as a model, and that was never part of my plan. But the vision of our company is teach, inspire, empower, make our world better. And that is what drives me today and inspires me. And I'm so grateful that this company that we built at my kitchen table when I was an aging pregnant model with a single pair of socks, that it's continued to grow and thrive. And I've learned many lessons along the way, many failures, far too many to share with you today, but learned a lot of lessons the hard way, powerful lessons that I'm really grateful for.
But that is really one thing we really want to touch on, is that the powerful lessons you've learned along the way. I think today's generation, a lot of people just think things happen overnight. But could you just touch on your modeling side? Because I know a lot of girls want to go into modeling, but I'm not sure what direction that would take them. Could you tell us your journey on how you became this successful businesswoman from doing modeling?
Well, thank you so much. And first of all, I have to thank you so much, Anne. It is such a pleasure and privilege to be with you today. And the concept of your platform to free women, in fact, all people, from the destruction of pain, that is a noble goal. And I have to admit that although I greatly respect the effort, I'm not sure that that's something I'm able to do. The foundation of my life is faith, family, and then being of service through our work. And while I refuse to let pain paralyze me, I cannot honestly say that I've arrived at a station in life where I'm completely able to let it go. And as a model, in answer to your question, it was never part of my plan. And it was an opportunity that I thought if I didn't explore it, I might regret it. And I thought perhaps I could save some money to start a business or go to college. And the entire time I worked in that industry, I was trying and failing businesses. The reason the modeling went on as long as it did is because it took me a long time to get the business going.
Oh, wow. I was listening to one of your interviews with Larry King, and I was blown away by that interview because you said something which I think every young girl experiences one way or the other about the modeling and the pimp world. How did you navigate yourself through that difficult time?
It was difficult. When I began modeling, as a teenager, I was very naive. I thought all adults were good people like my parents. And I quickly learned that that wasn't the case. Met some incredible people, but also some dangerous people as well. My faith most certainly protected me and guided me through that. It gave me the strength to walk away from situations that did not feel right. I knew that I could always do anything for a living, and I didn't need to compromise my values, myself, for anyone else's agenda. But it was tough. It was difficult. I actually recently wrote a book with New York Times bestselling author Rachel Van Dyken called Fashion Jungle, and it's fiction. yet it's based on true stories that I experienced, as well as roommates and girls that I knew in that industry. But I encourage people, know your value, know your worth, and figure out what your values are, put boundaries in place to protect them, because they will be challenged.
You talk about faith a lot, which is something I'm really honored about because I'm a Christian. And I think the only thing that's got me to where I am today is my faith, my belief in Jesus, that God did not put you in any position for you not to be able to overcome it, and utilizing his words. Whenever I find myself in an uncomfortable, compromising place, I always speak to him and ask him what to do. And I believe in that faith. How did you know to? Because a lot of girls go into modeling and not knowing, okay, I'm done the modeling. After a while, you're no longer that person that the magazine and everyone wants to use. But you went on to build this successful business. Like, how did you find that time and know that this is what you wanted to do?
Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing your wisdom as well. It's really encouraging. Grateful for that. One of the greatest gifts in my life is rejection. And it began as a model in the fashion industry. And when you're visiting photographers and stylists and magazines, and you offer images of yourself that they're going to wind up in the circular file. And when you're told that you're the wrong look, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're, not the right this, not the right that, you either strengthen or you emotionally cave. And, again, like you, it's my faith that got me through that, because if God is with us, who can be against us? And it didn't really matter what anyone else thought of me. But you can question your worth if you value yourself in superficial ways, the way you look, your finances, even our health, because all of those things might disappear in the next moment. And what I value most is eternal. And I always believed being photographed was the wrong career move for me. And I never wanted to be a model. I wanted to be the client, and I wanted to be able to treat all models, in fact, all people, with kindness and respect. And pivoting from modeling to the C-suite of our own then very tiny business made that possible. And even when modeling, it was so clear to take a moment and look up, to be aware of people, all around us, and that kindness, it costs nothing. Yeah. And yet it's priceless. And something that Mother Teresa said that I love is, she said, people are starving for love with a greater hunger than food. And it's hard to hear, and yet it's very true.
Wow. I'm really, so what drives you? And every morning you get up, it's early morning in California now. What drives you to get up in the morning to do what you do?
It needs, in maturity, I feel very blessed to be exposed to needs that are so much greater than me, and opportunities that are great as well. Enormous challenges. We just have to look at our world today. COVID-19, which, it's impacted our business and our personal families. The financial havoc caused by the pandemic, the number of infections and deaths in our country and in the world are heartbreaking. And then, of course, the very real scourge of racial unrest. Even in COVID, we see disparity of Black, white, and brown survival rates. And our family is devastated that the loss of George Floyd and that hateful video is responsible for so many of us having to assume responsibility for inequality. And it's interesting that racial issues have primarily been fought by people being oppressed, as we often unknowingly encourage people of color to assimilate and be what we think they should be, versus finding out who they are. And I love the beauty of differences. And it's sad that people I know don't always demonstrate that love in their own lives. And I believe it is so obviously clear that all Black lives matter at every moment, from the womb until the last breath. And the challenge was understanding that this needed to be said in 2020, because I've always worked at being an independent, critical thinker, just not the jump on the bandwagon kind of person. I'm very odd shaped. I don't fit in anyone's box. The phrase is beautiful. However, understanding the genesis of the phrase and the thoughtful agenda of the people saying it, that was important. And recently we've been blessed to have meetings with young men in the African American community who are kind and gracious, loving enough to help with open eyes and have a dialogue which allows us to learn about each other. And the beauty of these young men and their hearts, it brings tears of joy. And I've always believed that I had an understanding of the horrors of racism. And because of the influence of my parents and my faith, I knew it was evil and disgusting. In hindsight, I recognized that white privilege, which is a very real thing, caused me not to notice and address everything that I saw. And today, my compassion, it's more expansive. And I realize, Anne, that I have more questions than answers about the underrepresentation of the Black experience, the brown experience in our country. We've allowed history to be told in deceptive ways oftentimes. And thankfully, younger generations are demanding that we wake up and take peaceful, powerful actions. This is important. I really believe we need to do our due diligence, and the how is so important, to have an understanding of who it is we're aligning ourselves with and how, and is it in line with our values. And as a board member for NFL, PI, and the WNBA Board of Advocates, oh my goodness, we have so much work to do in virtually, every business, sports and societal reform. And we're a long, long way from equality, because the members of our team reflect every tongue and tribe. And we've been known to shake people up quite a bit, because our company, our team, is a reflection of every tongue and tribe. But today, the fact that we're inclusive causes me to wonder who we're dealing with when our clients have no inclusion, from gender to race. And my old job description as a model, as you were asking about, that job description was shut up and pose. And today I've got a lot of talking to do.
That's the thing, because you were in that world where, you just pose, and even if something was wrong, because I was speaking to a level model and she said she had a terrible experience being Black, just with the makeup and, difficulty being fitting in. And she confessed that, one designer said, I don't want a Black girl wearing that outfit. And I know so people go through it, but I think you're now in that position where, through your faith, because I always believe everything starts from love. Because if you love yourself, there's no way you can't love another person. And if you believe in Christ as well, it's just naturally, it just flows in you. And I think for you, you've demonstrated that very well, because you've just taken your faith to the next level. And that is what will help other people when they listen to what you have to say, and they will help and they will understand. Because I think it's only what we find as being a Black figure, we realize that it's people like you that could help us spread that word. We could tell you our problem, but you are the ones who have that door opening and say, look, I've listened to them and I've heard what they have to say. And I don't think, and you, because you convinced the neighbor, the next door neighbor, and then there's community that's making change, which is something I really find fascinating about your work and everything you do, especially your charitable work, because you really emphasize empowering women to make sure that no woman is left untouched. So I really applaud you for. Thank you so much. And honestly, I really want to learn along the way in the business world. If a young girl wants to start a business, is there any painful experiences which they might happen to them in that business world? Is there anything painful that they could expect a painful
Oh,
experience.
yes. Yes. Much pain. I mean, I just, I don't know how to avoid it. And, speaking of scripture, I mean, Jesus said, in this world, you will have tribulation. Take heart. I've overcome the world. So we can get through it. And I think what a gift it is to go through difficult times with people, because, and everyone can be lovely when things are going well. But when you're going through the trials, the fires of life, it's those people who, rather than just running away, they take your hand and they go through the fire with you. You come out stronger and better, and you come out refined, and that's a gift. It's very revealing. I think COVID and all of this unrest, it's very revealing in people. Not only did we see people hoarding, we see generosity, and that's amazing. But my goodness, in answer to your question, I think placing boundaries to protect and honor values is really important, as I mentioned. And you know, when my priorities are out of whack, I'm a mess. I mean, I'm just a great big mess. I'm not efficient at anything. So I've got to honor those priorities. And I was 40 years old before I learned that no was a complete sentence. No, thank you is better. Grace is always wonderful, but sometimes, and with some people, no, without any explanation, it's absolutely more than enough.
Wow.
And oftentimes we have to say no to good things in order to be able to say yes to great things.
That's true. Your mother, your wife, and you have all this. I'm a mother myself, I'm a wife, and it is absolutely difficult balancing it. Doing the balancing acts, especially now with quarantine, kids at home and not going to school. It's been challenging. How would you advise women out there who are going through this massive struggle of being a mother and also running a very successful business? Because I see that in your business, you're very much involved. You just don't you're not a person who just directs and tell them do this. You're so involved in your business from the bottom to the top. How would you balance it all as a mother and a wife?
Oh, and some days not well at all. Some days I don't feel balanced. I do get accused of being a control freak. I prefer to think of it as passionate. I'm very passionate about what we do. And the how is so important. I love sports, and this team that I put together, when I started our company, I was okay as a model. I wasn't all that super. And by the time that career was winding down, the job offers were pretty slim. And I was actually offered to model a pair of socks, and it was a very tiny budget, and they didn't even know if they were going to use my face, maybe just cropped at the knees. But I liked the people, and I had been saving my money to put a team together, people who had gifts in areas that I didn't have, somebody with a great eye who would be our global creative director, somebody with marketing gifts, and just wonderful gifts that I didn't necessarily possess. And I love the idea of bringing a very inclusive group together, different thoughts as well. We all come from different backgrounds and different points of view, but when it comes to what's important, values, how people are treated, we're on the same page. And that team helps make it possible for me to accomplish our work and still be very involved. Because from day one, I told them, look, my faith comes first, then my family, and then I'll be able to do the work better. And in fact, when I honor those priorities, I feel that my time is expanded and my time is better, and I'm making wiser choices, and I'm not cleaning up after myself, all the messes. So it's necessary. And then I think, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think as women, sometimes we try to take everything on, and it's okay to ask for help, and surround yourself with people who love you enough to tell you the truth, and who will see your potential and help you grow and do better. Not a bunch of yes people, but people who will be honest and supportive. And you can find, they're out there. They don't have to have a high degree in anything, but they can just be a hardworking person with a wonderful work ethic. and become just cherished team members, family members, and that's powerful. So boundaries, honoring your values, having boundaries in place, not being afraid to say no, and not being afraid to ask for help. And when someone rejects you, I mean, don't let that stop you. I mean, that's really important, because the rejection continues today. But we've developed the courage to interpret rejection as the potential for the beginning of communication. So, I mean, if somebody turns us down, that's absolutely fine. We'll be back.
Yeah.
When someone says no, I say, well, now we're talking. I'll come back tomorrow. Maybe your circumstances will have changed, or maybe you'll be in a better mood, or maybe the person who's, turning us down will no longer be in a position of power. So I encourage everyone, if you're being turned down, seek to learn. Do they have some constructive criticism, even though it might not be delivered very kindly? Is there something to learn from it? If so, make the adjustment. If it's noise, just turn it down. But go back. I think I might have been a little stalky, going back every day. But make a note in your calendar. 6 months later, go back and visit them and be persistent. Because if you give up, you'll never know. And if you believe in your dreams, you've got to be persistent and never allow rejection to defeat you. I mean, we've got to learn to embrace it. And if we're not being rejected frequently, I don't believe we're reaching high enough.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that words. It's really, really amazing. I think anyone listening to that would find the courage to keep trying and keep going. Does luck play a part in this? Do you think luck plays a part?
Well, our corporate definition of luck is when preparation and opportunity intersect, then the real work begins.
Mm-hmm.
And, success, it cannot be measured by how much money you have in the bank. It's how did you earn it? And how were the people treated in the process? And how are they being treated now that you have what they think you want? And do you love what you do? History is frequented by people of great wealth who are destructive, suicidal, and cruel. And having money is not a sin. Loving it is more dangerous. And I believe in never love anything that can't love you back. Yeah. In fact, loving things it's a scary way to live. The power of wealth deployed in service is beautiful, and meeting the needs of people who don't have opportunities. I think that is so meaningful. So I encourage people to fall in love with your ability to ease the burden and soften the suffering, to change a life. And if your love of those things inspires you to earn, you're not going to have to worry about money having an inappropriate importance in your life. And we've been so blessed to work with some incredible nonprofits, people doing great work out there. The National Pediatric Cancer Foundation, I have the privilege of serving as their International Youth Chair, and we have Team 43, because every day 43 children are diagnosed with cancer. And a couple of other organizations that we really believe in is Hardwired Global. It fights for the religious freedom of all people of all faiths globally, fighting persecution and peaceful educational solutions that are really working. And also the Free Burma Rangers, who are helping people all over the world fight for freedom and love. And they do so in such a loving way.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. The pandemic, as you know, the COVID-19, which is still going on, slowly fading away, that's caused so much strain on, in the world. Let's just put it in the world today. What words can you share to comfort those who are heavily affected by this? The words of wisdom that you share to them, because you're so good.
I mean, my heart breaks for everyone who's suffering from this. My husband, as well as being a commercial fisherman, he's an ER doctor. So he's on the front lines, and our family's been impacted by this, as have countless families been impacted by this. But something that really works, that I find to be true is, some say it's counterintuitive, but this works for us. It's consider others as more important than yourself. If there's a seat at any table, to take the seat of least importance. And you talked about this, Anne, in scripture. It says, you know, there's many commandments, but the greatest of these is love. And we're feeling a lot of fear and anxiety. And that book also tells us over 500 times, do not fear. So I think we face each day, and to find the gratitude. And you are working so hard to diminish and eliminate pain with your platform. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to get to know you and to learn about the great work that you're doing, your book. I mean, just congratulations. I wish you every success with this, because it's so important, and so much is accomplished with kind intentions that lead to loving actions. And so just so grateful to you.
No, absolutely. I had to write the book to give out hope to other people who are sufferers. There's so many people in America. In America alone, they have 120,000 people who are suffering from sickle cell anemia. And still, when you go into America, not a lot of people know about it. So it's one of the biggest related blood disorder, and I've been fighting social justice for it for so long. And it gets tiring after a while, but I mean, you keep pushing through and keep letting people know that there's hope, that people who go to hospital don't always have to die when they're 21. There's always hope with that. And that has been my focus from day one. Since the day I started getting better, I thought, okay, since I'm now a little bit better, let me try and put that energy into this book and into this platform to speak to and reach as many people who could also share their story along the way. Your company is doing great. Do we have access to it? I know I tried to get something and it didn't come. Do we have access to it here in the UK? I know we could do it online. I mean, I tell her like we could do it online because my sister ordered a few things for her house. She just moved house, and she ordered a few things because she likes your pillows and stuff. So my sister did order a few
that's
things.
So sweet.
And it's for people in the UK who want to access your product. How do they do that?
Well, thank you for asking, and thank you to your sister. So kind. Our website, kathyireland.com, is a great resource, and it's got all the different information about our products and services.
Okay.
And also our social media, all the different platforms.
Okay. Our final message of hope, because we've come to the end, and you have just been truly amazing. I could keep you here because your words are so encouraging.
Well, I wish I was interviewing you, Anne, because you are, I have so much respect for you. You have such courage and strength and humility all at the same time. And you are a powerful inspiration. So grateful for you.
I really try. I think, even with what's happening with the world right now with the Black Lives Matters, I always feel that Black life started with our health. When there was a combination with sickle cell, that's when the Black lives stopped mattering. So that's why I started by the ground root of it, to understand why was there lack of funding into sickle cell when have a blood disorder had so many funding poured into it. So I think that's where the passion, and then my faith. Very much like you, church girl on Sunday, and I always reached out to God and asked him to guide me on how to shed light on a situation that most people just don't know how to. I try to do that. But a final message of hope from you that you want to share with everyone before we close.
Well, thank you, Anne. Well, I would encourage people. You mentioned faith, and I was such a baby Christian for so long. My mom packed a Bible in my suitcase, never had one growing up, and my mom came to know the Lord, and she stuck one in my suitcase, and that's how I came to know him. But for many years, I'd pick and choose the verses I liked, and then I disregard the ones I didn't. And I was 44 before I read it in its entirety. And so my message of hope is just so grateful that God is so gracious and loving. He loves us just as we are, and I'm so grateful that He's so patient, and that gives me great hope and great joy, and it helps me, I believe, to seek to have more patience and more grace with others. So I mean, it's needed, and that's there for everybody.
Kathy Island, thank you so much for joining me on this conversation with myself. I really hope we connect again and speak to you again soon. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Anne. God bless you. Thank you.